It's claimed by some people that if you play certain records backwards, you can hear subliminal messages or the voice of the devil. Like this one. And this one. I wonder what this says. How about this executive from Microsoft? I wonder what happens if we play her audio backwards.
Advent games.
Holy shit. I didn't see that one coming. Disclaimer. There is only so much you can tell about a game at E3 when they only show cinematic trailers. The only people talking about it have a vested interest in selling it. The people allowed to get behind closed doors hands-on access to the game know damn well they won't get invited back next year if it's shit, and they publicly say so. Although this does raise the question, what's the point of having privileged early access to play the game if you aren't going to tell people what it's really like? That is, of course, a rhetorical question. The answer is, being able to talk exclusively about a game is great for self-promotion, and being honest about it is largely irrelevant. Just saying. E3 is a giant trade show, never forget that. In some ways, it's a giant shit show. But without further ado, let's strap on our rubber pig masks and head straight in. Microsoft. I never imagined a day would come when I would be laughing hysterically at a corporate stooge from Microsoft for good reasons. Microsoft went full troll mode at E3 and opened the press conference with a trailer for Outer Worlds. Yes, that game. The game that Obsidian fans are incredibly excited about, right up until they bent over and grabbed the cell bars so that Epic Games could trade their dignity for Epic Game Store exclusivity and a few packets of ramen noodles. So why would Microsoft be trailing an Epic Game Store exclusive at the start of their show? Well, more of this later. Let's hit this in chronological order. Bleeding Edge. Well, a dude and a dudette from Ninja Theory introduced Bleeding Edge, a 4v4 squad-based melee and ranged PvP game. It's like someone punched a copy of Overwatch through a Gorillaz album cover. Does the world really need an Overwatch competitor? Does the world really need Overwatch? I don't really understand the appeal myself, but I guess one or two people would disagree with me. Okay, 40 million people would disagree with me, which is coincidentally the same as the population of Thailand, just in case you were thinking of going. Bleeding Edge looks very pretty and sounds very interesting, but the million-dollar question is, how does it play? Well, I have no fucking idea, but I did see an interview with Ninja Theory creative director Rainey Tucker, and frankly, it was a breath of fresh air seeing a creative director discuss their game like they actually knew all the game mechanics and played the fucking thing from time to time. Too often creative directors talk like they work in advertising and sales, Ubisoft, or don't even know their own game lore, World of Warcraft. It's too early to say if this is going to be any good, and if I'm honest, it's not really my kind of thing, but if the gameplay is half as good as the art design, it's possible that it will be an above average game. This said, would it have really twisted anyone's nipples that hard to just have at least a 60 to 90 second cutaway to actual fucking game footage? Which was present elsewhere at the show apparently. I mean, Hearthstone has cinematic trailers like this, and that's a fucking card game. You get my point. Immediately afterwards, one cinematic trailer hemorrhaged into the next. We had Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This looked like a poetic and beautifully crafted tale of a fluorescent sperm trying to get from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. Bless that sperm. Minecraft Dungeons. Read Lego Heroes of the Storm. At least it had a bit of gameplay footage. Maybe. This will probably be like any Lego style video game. You will like it or you will not. It's a matter of personal taste. Or lack thereof. Then the head of Xbox, Phil Spector, came on stage and started to wax fucking lyrical about the gaming world. He talked about future possibilities, creativity, and the endless possibilities. You know the drill. Classic quasi-corporate fan wank to copy and paste into the investor website later. But then things got interesting. He smirked, like an investment banker at a Sweet 16 party who's got a pocket full of roofies, and he started talking about gaming, discovery, and etching stuff into history. I like etching. Then, when he got to the bit about uniting gamers, integration, crossplay, and letting gamers play what they want, where they want, I suspected some fat torpedo was being loaded into the tube, but it wasn't going to be fired until later in the show. I would, however, correct him on one legal technicality. He claimed that E3 was the biggest showcase of video games anywhere on a stage this year. That is horseshit. E3 is the largest showcase of video game cinematics. You know me, I'm a pedantic fuck. Then there were more cinematics, this time Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. They're still trying to recreate that Luke R2-D2 magic and failing. Maybe it's time to move on to some new tropes. You know, create some original ones. Rogue One did a solid job with K2SO. That fucker was laconic and funny. Then we had the world premiere of Blair Witch Project. This horror game looks pretty much like the perfect recipe to make me shit my pants. But yet again, it looked like cinematic footage, so how the fuck can we tell if we really will shit our pants? It could be a top-down isometric shooter for all we fucking know. Then, there was an obscure little indie game you might have heard of. Cyberpunk 2077. With more fucking cinematic, non-gameplay footage. And to make things worse, they then doubled down on their failure. With Mother Teresa dead, and Jesus having no current plans to come back to Earth, CD Projekt Red was forced to scrape together their third choice of guest presenter. Keanu fucking Reeves. In what can only be described as the video game coup of the year, Cyberpunk 2077 has managed to get Keanu, I Like Puppies Reeves, to not only present the game at E3, but to be in the game. Keanu, I Hang Out with Homeless People Reeves, star of Johnny Mnemonic, the cyberpunk action thriller adaptation of William Gibson's book, co-starring Japanese movie legend Takeshi Kitano, The Matrix, the cyberpunk subgenre sci-fi movie that set the bar for movie action combat scenes and introduced the world to bullet time, and Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, which film reviewer Rob Gonsalves described as one of the most boring movies of all time. Okay, nobody's perfect. Keanu, I set up a charitable foundation for sick kids and didn't mention it to anyone Reeves, will be playing the starring role of Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk 2077. Needless to say, Cyberpunk fans are losing their shit. And when he spoke to the crowd, it was probably the only occasion during this E3 where they didn't need to use the electronic cue card system to instruct the audience when to cheer and when to clap. I can't think of a better fit than Keanu, I'm only an actor and I'm a better shot than you Reeves. A man who already has an existing legacy of cyberpunk movies. I can confidently say that I speak for an entire generation of gamers when I say this. I really fucking hope this game isn't a pile of shit. Cyberpunk 2077 comes out April 16th, 2020. And please don't be a pile of shit. After that bombshell, there was another long string of cinematic trailers, followed by the rather delightful Sarah Bond, head of Xbox Partnerships, taking the stage. And then she finally fired the big fat fucking torpedoes that Phil Spector had been loading up earlier. She announced the new Microsoft Game Pass for Xbox and PC, which include titles such as, you guessed it, Outer Worlds and Metro Exodus, Epic Games exclusives. Oh noes, Epic Games Studio, she just sunk your battleship. I bet they are really regretting paying all these guys millions of pounds each just to be Epic Games exclusives. Possibly it might have been a smart idea to check the small print in the Xbox contracts first. I have no doubt that the inclusion of 2 high-profile and very expensive Epic Store exclusives being slapped on the screen at the back of the stage was a deliberate fuck you message. I guess that's always the danger when you have a multi-billion-dollar organisation and you decide to try and dominate a market. Some company with net assets over $250 billion might just come along and tell you to stay in your fucking lane. Tim Sweeney started this war, but it looks like Microsoft might be about to end it. And now many gamers like myself can now sidestep the Epic Games Store boycott to get our grubby little slithering mitts on games like Outer Worlds without going anywhere near Chinese state spyware. Justice is fucking served. The whole Halo Master Chief Collection will be on the pass and coming to PC. Forza, Football Manager, Gears 5, Prey, Wolfenstein, The New Colossus, 100 plus curated games on PC for $9.99 a month if you pay 6 monthly. Their Ultimate Pass is $14.99 a month. You get the game catalogue on PC, Xbox, and free Xbox Gold membership. When you consider the fact that you're getting a lot of the Epic Games Store's exclusives as well, that's quite a bargain. A huge implication of this announcement was not lost on me. Whilst Epic Games is trying to fire up a console war scenario in the PC gaming world, and fucking over millions of gamers in the process, Microsoft and Xbox are doing the exact polar opposite and diminishing barriers between at least one console and the PC master race. Fuck, I'm surprised they didn't just build an effigy of Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney on stage and fucking burn it. Or just paid a porn star to walk on with a Tim Sweeney blow-up doll and fuck it, right there on the stage, like some surreal Amsterdam sex show. I mean, it would have to be surreal. Who would want to fuck a Tim Sweeney sex doll? Well, it's a big wide world out there and I'm sure it's somebody's cup of tea. Perhaps I'll Google that later. Perhaps we should all keep Googling that later, relentlessly, until it becomes part of some algorithm and starts auto-completing on Google or something. I'm just kidding. Tim Sweeney is a very handsome man and I'm just having some cheap, immature fun at the expense of the person who wants to forcibly subsume the whole of the indie gaming development world, fuck millions of gamers and force half the Western world to sign up to a launcher compromised by the Chinese state intelligence services that also pisses away millions of its customers' credit cards details every 6 months. I guess I'm just implying that a few childish sex doll jokes are by far not the worst thing you can say about Tim Sweeney. My personal take on this is positive. Epic Games waged a war on Steam and therefore gamers, and thus far nobody has returned fire. What could Steam really do? They already offer relentless discounts on games, and cutting their split with publishers wasn't going to harm Epic Games, just delay the inevitable. Steam had no way to retaliate without causing as much harm to themselves as they would cause to Epic Games. And Epic Games is the bigger corporation here. I certainly was not expecting Microsoft to be the ones to return fire on Epic Games though. And holy fucking shit, this was an awesome barrage of fire. Epic Games has been betting the house on its expensive exclusivity deals and made a lot of enemies doing it. Now Microsoft comes along and pulls the rug out from under them and foils their dastardly plan. I never thought a day would come when I wanted to grab Bill Gates by the ears and kiss him on his sinister, creepy forehead. And on reflection, I still don't want to do that. But I would at least charge him less now for the privilege. Be cautious though. I'm sure when the excitement wears off, we will find out that there is a catch, or Microsoft will dick us all over. It looks too good to be true, so it probably is. Anyway, with so much good news going on, it was about time they spewed more cinematics in our faces. Psychonauts 2, Lego Star Wars something, Dragon Ball Z, 12 minutes, Way to the Woods, You know, the sort of games I should be trying out if I was a professional reviewer, but don't possess enough bucks to check out because they're simply not my bag. And also Gears of War 5, which definitely looks like my bag. In this iteration of Gears of War, the protagonist is going to be female for a change. I think this was a great idea for the following reasons. I think it's empowering to women and indicative of the changing socio-political landscape of outrage. It represents an inspiring, positive, homicidally violent mass murdering role model for young girls. And the young daughters of Battlefield 5 developers, obviously. And most importantly, because she's like super hot and I can spend the entire game staring at her butt. Look, I'm shallow. What do you want me to say? I can lie about it if you want. Interestingly, just like me, most Gears fans don't really care about the change. It's not strictly canon apparently, but it's just a change in gender for the main protagonist, and most people seem fine with that. I think some specific factions expected a massive triggering, and thus far there hasn't been one. I wonder if it's because they just changed to having a female character instead of, say, hypothetically taking a historic World War II game and changing the main character to a physically disabled female frontline amputee commando. Yeah, that might have had something to do with it. I'll bet $5 that if nobody complains about her being female, the outrage posse will try and start a bun fight about her not being transgender or that she represents a sexual stereotype or some shit. Somebody will find something to get upset about. Anyway, these kinds of conversations about cultural representation and gender in video games are implicitly complex and multifaceted. However, if you do take away one fact from this entire discussion, it should simply be this. I will spend the entire game staring at her butt. Then they showed us the new Xbox Elite Controller Series 2, which looked absolutely beautiful. And it is a dream to use apparently. The rumour is it only has two very minor faults. One, it's a dreadful pile of utter shit that was already falling apart during tests at E3. And two, it costs more than your flights and tickets to E3. It's $180 fucking, I shit you not. If anyone asked you what was the funniest thing at E3 this year, just tell them about the price of the new Xbox controller and watch them fall off their bar stools. Then, to everybody's amazement, they suddenly started spewing even more cinematic footage at the screen. Dying Light 2, Forza 4, the Lego expansion. Why the fuck are people obsessed with Lego? There'll be Lego porn next. Too late, already checked, it's a thing, it's fucking real. They threw in a pathetic mobile game because it's the law now apparently. Then there was a State of Decay 2 expansion cinematic trailer, and in what might be a historical precedent, State of Decay 2 is still so fucking buggy that the character hand animations don't even correctly map onto the gun models in the cinematic footage. What the actual fuck? Then there was another bullshit non-gameplay trailer for some free-to-play game called Phantasy Star Online 2? I'm not even making this shit up. Apparently a never-ending quest awaits you. Or should I say Microsoft's never-ending quest to separate the player from their money awaits you. I'm too wise for this shit these days. It's almost certainly going to be a laborious fuckfest where everything is better if you just spend $1. Been there, done that, fuck the goat. No thank you. It looks like a cross between Starship Troopers and one of my hentai fantasies. Although if I'm completely honest, I have Starship Trooper sexual fantasies too. So yeah, it's got some redeeming qualities, but everything it offers you can get cheaper elsewhere. I can even give you a couple of phone numbers. Crossfire X, an Xbox exclusive, looked interesting, but it was more non-gameplay bullshit, and if I'm honest, at this point in the show I realised that they peaked about 40 minutes in, and perhaps should have stopped there. Then they showcased some more cinematic footage, this time of Elden Ring, a Dark Souls analogue directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki, involving That author I'm not allowed to mention until everyone's calmed down about how shit Season 8 was. I'm sorry, but nobody is going to take your fantasy game seriously when you show a picture of a gonk and then the narrator says, "Oh, it burns."
It burns.
In a game called Elden Ring. Look, his fucking ring is burning. How did that get past all the creatives? Was everyone too scared to appear immature by putting their hand in the air and saying, "You can't have a burning ring" joke implied in the trailer? Or a fucking gonk. I lost my shit at this point. I also stopped giving a shit, to be honest. I want real gameplay footage, even if it is just a cutaway, and I was close to switching the damn thing off. Who knows what these games are like if we only see this mocked up bullshit promo material. But there was something worth waiting for. Phil Spector came back on and announced Project X Cloud. Cloud gaming. The abomination of the industry. Why have 50 millisecond ping when you can have twice that for twice the price and lose the ability to choose to buy games and pay for multiple subscriptions and services and have your game censored, terminated or price hiked for no reason at all and not be able to game for days if your internet gets cut off? Perhaps cloud-based gaming will end up being relatively benign, but I doubt it. We have already seen adult-themed hentai games censored with hot patches on Steam. I am painfully aware of the risks associated with having your games, saves, hardware and licenses all held server-side with the vendor who makes the rules and breaks the rules and changes the prices on a whim. The only outcome I can see from cloud-based gaming dominating the market is this: publishers make more profit and have all the control. Would you play poker with someone and let them play your hands for you? Would you take it on faith they would look after your best interests and play the cards right for you, even if it was against themselves, and give you your winnings afterwards? No, you wouldn't. Cloud-based gaming thus far only offers wank ping rates, more subscription charges, and moves us closer to a world where we pay cinema levels of entertainment per hour for games that might be censored or changed on a whim. They want a world where they extract the absolute maximum amount of entertainment cash out of us per hour. They don't want us trading second-hand games for $10 when they could be charging us $10 an hour to play them. I'd be the first to admit that I sleep with a tinfoil hat on, but I don't trust this shit. They say it's about giving us the games we want, playing with the people you want, on the devices that you want. Well, I want to play the games that are my own damn fucking business. I want to play them in peace and fucking quiet, and I want to play them on any device other than a mobile or fucking tablet. And I don't see how routing my entire gaming activity via some fucking server in Strasbourg and back again and charging me for the privilege is going to somehow magically make my life better and cheaper. What happens if I pick up a 10 quid copy of something later? Do you think you'll be able to get your saved games back from their servers? Unlikely without a fee, if at all. I just don't trust this. It might work with TV and film, it might have worked with Netflix, but gaming isn't Netflix. Watching their sales pitch, I was shaking my fucking head. They were making some pretty bold promises. No more loading screens, improvements in graphics, better running games. I've heard all this shit before. I hear it every year. When I see video games with no loading screens, no bugs, running perfectly, and it doesn't cost me more money, I'll change my mind. Maybe I'm overly suspicious. But I love video games, and I don't want to entirely trust the process to a third party. Personally though, I would rather own my games, problematic as that statement is, own my PC, and get better performance, but just wait in a year or two for better GPUs and CPUs to come out. Talking of which, they teased Project Scarlet, the next-gen console with a new Halo release. You know the deal. Lots of promises, no evidence, all cinematics and people bullshitting to camera, a bit of lab footage and people talking like they were being interviewed on the Discovery Channel. I'm sure it's not shit, but they were blowing smoke up arses on an industrial scale. Hey, I can lie for a promo and then draw you a picture of a fucking spaceship on the back of a napkin. That in and of itself does not prove that I'm going to become an astronaut. I think we need to all reserve judgment until the console is actually finished and it's hit the shelves. The Microsoft Expo was big on promises and small on evidence and gameplay. Keanu giving $50 million in fees to Matrix crews and Urban Myth Reeves, well, he stole the show, along with Cyberpunk 2077, which itself was still short of footage, tearing a strip off Epic Games exclusives with the Xbox Game Pass was brilliant to see. But if I'm honest, 99% of this expo was bullshit, pretty mock-ups and promises. And as much as I would love to trust these guys, I don't. And neither should you. Still, credit where credit is due. At least I'll be playing Outer Worlds and a few other games this year now, so I am grateful for that. And Microsoft has at least delivered something that was worthwhile this year. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.